Hello everyone and welcome back to the last 100% Metroid Zero mission. The last part we went through a bit more Brinstar, getting a various suit in the process, as well as took out the entirety of Kraid's lair, aside from one expansion we'll be getting way later in the game. And now we're going to be heading after Ridley. Eventually. First thing we want to do is that even though Ridley's elevator is in basically the exact same location it was in the original, we want to, like in the original, sidetrack ourselves first and find a lot of items here in Norfair, because a lot of them are not only helpful, at times, if I recall correctly, they're almost necessary in order to make things easy on ourselves. At least in terms of getting other items in Ridley. So what we want to do is, similarly to the original game, head over to the high jump boots room and roll on under. This is the first superheated area in the game, so you shouldn't come over here without the barrier suit. There are ways to get over here without the barrier suit, but those ways are not only very damaging, but also pretty annoying. There aren't even that many superheated rooms in this game, but that's mostly just because it's a remake, so they couldn't really change too much of the layout without it being too, not only alien, but I guess, odd just for old players like, other people. Also, we need to do our, oh, you dick. We need to do our only real speed booster jump here, which is odd, because I usually really like those moments where you do a, speed booster jump. I immediately think of the one in Super Metroid most of all because it's a longer jump, but yeah. Also, we are coming up on one of my other bigger sequence breaks. In this room, on the top left corner, there are missile blocks. This will allow us to get an item that's up here much earlier than the game directs you to get it. There are other blocks in that room, namely a speed booster block or two, and then the blocks for this item, the screw attack. So now our somersault jump is an attack that does a pretty decent amount of damage. We can also kill things we couldn't before, like the Rippers. Even then, me getting this now isn't that big of a sequence break, because we're directed to get the screw attack immediately after Ridley's lair. So I would have had it by like 2 minutes into next part anyway. So it's just better for me to get this now so I can do a bit better in Ridley's lair. It's not that much of an out of the way thing anyway. And I could go left down here, but if I recall, it's basically a dead end. So we're going to head down south first, and then head to the west. It feels weird to call it south, because it's more so just down. Geography stuff is weird. Though I do like how they made the green bubbly rooms look in this game. That looks pretty cool. What we're seeing now, because I'm getting damaged by it, is not acid anymore. That is the actual lava. I will still get damaged by that in various suits. Unlike other games where acid's what damages you in the various suit, the series is very inconsistent about that. I usually just call that acid and the stuff I can survive at the moment lava anyway, but it doesn't really matter in the long run. Either way, in this little hallway that I rarely ever go down, there's actually 2 missile tanks that are very easy to get, so let's grab that one there, and then there's one at the end of the pathway. Either way, going into some, like, you might remember in Fusion, I went into some developmental facts. I was actually doing some research, and apparently there was some unused features for this game. First off, similar to Super Metroid, there was originally an intended ability for you to be able to switch off abilities at your own will. So you could, like, have the Ice Beam on and the Long Beam, but not, like, the other ones that you'll eventually be getting in any order you want. So you could turn off the bombs, but not the Morph Ball, some stuff like that. But I guess just because that feature was kind of pointless in Super Metroid anyway, they just never implemented it. But that would have meant there was quite a few cool little beam combos you could probably do. I know there's a ROM hack out there that reinstates this feature, which I should probably check out at some point. Also, I can confirm for a fact now that this game does use the exact same engine as Fusion. It's still the Wario Land 4 engine. Hey, look, the wave beam! So now our beams can penetrate walls. It's actually not that much of an upgrade in this game. It doesn't do the double damage that it did in the original Metroid. It's more so just now for convenience sake, really. It'll do a bit more damage, don't get me wrong, but I don't think it does double. Charge shots are still the best way to go, as well as spamming missiles against these spider things. However, getting that will allow me to destroy some blocks through walls, which will come in handy for item completion. And with that, our reasons to go through the lower left part of Norfair is done for now. We'll be back there for a couple more items later on, but now we're actually going to head over to Ridley's lair. And it's about to get really weird when we get that. Okay, then Worm. That's why you need the wave beam, so you can do that. If you took the shortcut I showed you in part 1, you can head to Ridley's lair by ignoring this room entirely. Also, spam your bombs there because that'll kill that one a lot more earlier. And there's an energy tank for us. 6 energy tanks is the limit on one row. So now when we get our 7th one, it'll go on to row 2. However, in hard mode, if I recall, that's the highest amount of energy tanks you get. Oh boy. And you might see these blocks here. Keep that in mind for the early part of next part. Early section of next part. I'll explain what that is then. And now, once we go through here, we have a bit of a mini-boss, which actually, if I recall, plays a remix of the Spore Spawn theme from Super Metroid. This is the KiruGiru, and it's a very easy boss fight. The only thing it does to attack you is that little Spore Spawn attack, which actually is almost directly the thing from Spore Spawn and Nettori. And then fire missiles into the fleshy bits on top. If you have the screw attack, you shouldn't be getting damage in this fight because you'll just destroy the projectiles anyway. And it's dead. Well, not dead, more so disabled. And with that, we have access to Ridley, so let's head on down this elevator. So now that Ridley and both us have arrived at his lair, we want to leave his lair because we can't do anything in it. To our right is a wall, to our left is a dead end via Green's super missile door. So we want to head back to where the KiruGiru was, and it's gone! If you actually go into this room in Ridley we're about to enter right now, you can actually see that there's a cocoon where it was, so it somehow went through the rest of its development cycle that quickly. So we're immediately led into our next boss, against, and I hope I'm remembering this name right, the Amago? This is all it does. It flies right to left and left to right, and you can damage it more on once going left to right, and it'll fire missiles, spine things occasionally. It's a very easy boss fight. This is where you get super missiles, so if you did the super missile sequence break, you can skip this fight entirely. However, for 100% you want to do it anyway, and if you don't have super missiles like I do, this is where you're going to get them. They are pretty useful in this fight though, because you'll do 5 damage to him as opposed to the 1, because super missiles are 5 times as powerful. And now we have super missiles. They are not a pure upgrade like they were in Fusion. You now select them with, well, select, and then you do the exact same thing as the missiles to destroy green doors. It's kind of a weird in-between of both the Super Metroid system and the Fusion system. And I like it, I'm not gonna lie, because it means I don't have to waste as many missiles and I'll always have more ammo on me anyway. But yeah, also that was my first jump cut, making sure I had everything on my checklist, because this was a bit of a longer recording session in terms of just the amount of area I went through, because Ridley is a larger area than it was in the original, and you have to go through a lot more of it to get everything. Though the very trolly energy tank is still here, this time it's the 4 blocks in front of it are pits. However, thankfully one of the enemies is going along the walls, so if I wait long enough and just fire diagonally down with my ice beam, eventually I will freeze something. Hello? Are you there? Come on, buddy. I want that energy tank. There's your cousin. Where are you? There you are. So now I can stand on top of it and jump left to either catch onto the ledge or do that entirely. That is a much easier jump to make here than I think it is than the original, but it's still pretty annoying all the same. Either way, Ridley actually holds a distinction if you come here at this point in the game when you have everything I do. That's the first area we can 100% on our first visit to it. If you came here early by doing the shortcut I showed you at the beginning of the game, you will not be able to get everything because you don't have the speed booster. And the speed booster is pretty important. Also, map rooms are a thing in this game. I'm only showing 2 of them off, this one because I'm required to use it in order to get some items, and one later on because you're basically required to use it as well. Either way, you might remember this pathway. This is the tunnel I had to go out of my way to backtrack to get a single missile tank in the original Metroid. And now I need to use the speed booster quite a bit in order to get a total of 4 missile tanks. And these are pretty annoying to get in terms of timing. This one's not too bad, though. What we have to do in this room is that there's a missile on the top right and the bottom right. We need to shine spark up here. Roll into here, immediately uncurl, get onto that, wall jump up here, Grab onto this ledge, fire a missile there, and now the really annoying part starts. There is a missile up there and up down there. You need to shoot down there so you can get rid of a block that you can pass through to get this one. And then to get the other one, we need to uncurl on top of this slow crumble block and fire missiles upwards a lot. Jumped up so you don't get screwed over, because there's not enough room to build up a speed booster in here. And if you hold onto this ledge after you've destroyed enough blocks, you're safe to get the missile tank, but if you fall down there, you need to leave the room and come back in to try that entire thing again. That can be time-consuming. With that, though, we're on to what I consider honestly, the hardest missile pack to get in the game, at least at this point in time. If you wait until later and actually do backtrack for it, it's a fairly easy to get item. But for me, that's not really something I want to do for this area, because Ridley's too far out of the way to backtrack to in my eyes. All the other items in Norfair, I'll have a way to backtrack to in a simple fashion, but Ridley, not so much. Also, this is why I love the screw attack. I can just destroy things in here so easily. And now we're coming up on a save room at the end of it, which I actually am going to use, because if I take too long getting this next missile, I wanted to do a reset, just so I didn't take too long trying to get it. Plus, it's just good to save every now and then. In terms of how we get this one, it's a fairly similar process to how we got the last one. There is a passageway on top of the place right here that's just long enough to build up a speed boost in. And now we want to go back towards the save point, building it up again, charging a Shine Spark, going into the save room, and then using it on these little hills. Then we want to charge it, jump up, jump up, jump up, and Shine Spark to the right. That is already pretty tricky to time. Now we want to build up another speed booster from here. Charge it, and release upwards, grab on, bomb, and hurry. You need to get to the end of this place before it all goes away, and you need to get on these. Otherwise, you're not winning. You need to be able to do a good wall jump. Oh, boy. You can wait until you get the last power-ups in the game to get that, and it's severely easier. But for me, I wanted to do it the long way, I guess. Either way, I actually screwed up on something there. What I needed to do there was actually charge my Shine Spark, because you may notice there's a one-panel divot on the top of the ceiling in this next room here. We want to Shine Spark through that. And now we get to one of the more annoying Shine Spark missile tanks in the game, rather. What we need to do here is just charge a speed booster. However, there's two 3x3 blocks in front of us. One can be destroyed like that, the other one needs a missile after that. And then you have, like, I think it's a 4-frame opportunity to jump and get this. This is a very tight thing. You will screw up on this a lot. It takes at least 3 to 4 frames. It's very specific. But with that, if you're just trying to do for a speed game, I could actually recommend saving after that, because I think that 10 or so seconds is worth the 20 or so you probably plus saved trying to get those. With that said, though, we're finally heading more towards Ridley himself, but there's still a lot of items we're going to get along the way. I'm thinking of 5 or 6 off the top of my head, but they're all fairly quick to get, unlike those previous 4. First one's right down here in Fake Acid. I actually found this somehow very easily in my first playthrough, because the other versions of those, not the other versions, the other pits I fell down, if I recall, they actually lead you to the room below us, which is basically a little trap, which is one of the few disadvantages to getting the screw attack this early. But at the end, it doesn't really matter, because I'm getting more than enough items to compensate for any time I would have lost there. Ooh, super missile block. That's actually kind of rare to find at this point in the game. Most super missile blocks aren't until the towards endgamey stuff, which we're not towards endgame yet. We would be in the original game, but we're not quite there. Okay, time for some of the more really annoying missiles to get in the game. Wall jump! If I didn't get the screw attack, that would be a lot easier to do. But since I got it, I actually did have to wall jump effectively there, otherwise I would have fell down, and in order to get up here, I would have had to backtrack across the entire area. Yeah, no. But it is worth it in the end, because we're going to be getting not 1, not 2, but 3 expansions in this direction, because there's a hidden passageway up here. Okay, 4. I forgot about that one, actually. We now want to head into that next room, but I'm actually going to check my checklist to prepare for it. Just to make sure I got everything. What we need to do here is two things. First off, there's a destructible block there in the bottom right, where that one missile is, and we want to shoot up here to get to this one. These are actually kind of annoying to get, but they're nowhere near as hard as the previous few that we've done. In fact, by doing that alone, I believe I have guaranteed myself, yep. So with that, I can now finally head towards Ridley. Also, I only just now noticed that those cannons have Chozo faces on the knees. Huh. Weird. Thankfully, as you saw by looking at the map, we're fairly close to where Ridley's situated. We just need to fall down here and then go through, I think, 2 or 3 rooms. I could recommend saving, but I'm not going to. You know, for some reason I feel like jumping on top of this bug. Let's freeze it and jump on top of it. Oh, another one of those blocks. That means there's another unknown item in the vicinity. And the yellow Ghidorah. This one takes 3 shots. It's faster to use the super missile. I just didn't feel like wasting it on something that wasn't the boss. Which is kind of redundant because there's a Chozo statue coming up anyway. Huh. You know what? That was just a bad choice on my part. Hello, Ridley. Not in here? Okay, I'm gonna go over here and steal your stuff. Yeah, it's the 3rd unknown item. Wonder where this one's gonna go. Suit. Analysis inconclusive. Item compatible with certain suit. I noticed that they've all gone to specific areas. Beam, miscellaneous, and suit. But there is at least an energy tank here, so you're not coming over here for nothing. Also, I'm gonna recharge just so I have all my missiles. Yeah, 205 missiles. There's only, 9 missile tanks left in the game, then. Okay, oh, door's locked. Ridley, I'm gonna need you to open the door. Ridley is thankfully much more quiet than he was in Fusion, and he's also a lot easier. If you just pump missiles into his face, he will die very quickly. He's already about half health. It's a disappointingly easy fight. He just tries to do the exact same stuff he did in Super with his tail and his fireballs. Very easy. Kind of disappointing being the guy that's kind of, the main rival character in the franchise. He's had some good fights. Meta Ridley comes to mind from the original Prime, and I guess his fights in Corruption weren't that bad, but in the GBA games, he's just kind of disappointingly easy. Ah, well, I can't win them all, I suppose. Either way, with that, we're basically done here in Ridley. If I recall, we have every item. We never need to come back here again. So, let's just get the hell out. Oh, I do need to build up a Shine Spark, though. Not Shine Spark, Speed Booster. I do that a lot. I call the Shine Spark the Speed Booster and the Speed Booster the Shine Spark. Because once I go through here, I believe is where the last item is as well. Because there's another energy tank in this underground passageway. With that, we're done here in Ridley for good. Let's get the hell out of here. In terms of how we do that, we can't go back the way we came, obviously. So we need to climb up this shaft towards the top of it. Due to its proximity, it should loop around back to the entrance. Okay, I lied. There's one more item. I forgot about this one. There's a missile tank in the top left of this room. Top right, rather. The way you get that, though, is kind of annoying. You have to freeze one of these bugs towards the left of where they spawn. I do believe it is physically possible for you to do a wall jump up there, but it's not something I'm good enough at. Also, weird little idiosyncrasy. The game won't spawn another bug until you've collected the item of the previous one. Come on, buddy. That looks good. And it is. And that's the last missile tank. So let's get the hell out and head back towards Norfair. But with that, if I recall the timestamp correctly, I'm going to need to end this off here. Thank you guys for watching, and in part 4, we'll be heading back to Norfair just a little bit to get a few more items along the way. And then we'll be heading off towards Torian. See you guys then.